Hey, brother. So, who am I? Good question. My name's Chris Nelson. I'm from Dallas-Fort Worth area, actually Mansfield, Texas, to be specific. I grew up there. I went to University Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas. Get your guns up. While I was in university, I was in ROTC. Actually bounced around. I was Air Force ROTC in the beginning, and then Army ROTC, and basically trying to get in wherever I could. Once I realized the Air Force wasn't going to give me any sort of commission or flight slot, if you will, I jumped to the Army. They'll take anybody, right? So I'm really happy I did. I mean, I picked the Army for a multitude of reasons. Try not to get into that, but I think what really appealed to me was the fact that I could pick my job. But as an officer, you never get to do that. So I was on this officer track. I thought that was the right way to go. So in ROTC and Army ROTC, I actually met a bunch of guys that were coming back from Iraq, and they were telling me their stories. And man, I mean, that to me, I wanted to be a part of that so bad. With school, I was never the best student, so there was no chance in hell that I was going to get any sort of commission as an officer. And I'll never forget the commander of our detachment actually spoke to me one day, and he's like, "Why don't you just effing enlist?" And I was like, "Oh, sir, I never thought of that." And it was just kind of like this bonehead moment. I was like, "Yeah, why don't I enlist?" And I did. It was funny. The major there within the detachment actually, he's like, "Hey, I'll take care of you. I'm going to send an email to a recruiter friend of mine. He'll probably catch up with you soon." And I kid you not, no shit. After the email went out, I went home, went to my apartment, and had roommates and everything, and went to my room. And before I could even kind of just chill out, I got a knock on the door. My roommate's like, "Chris, there's some Army guys here for you." And sure enough, I enlisted right then and there. I didn't even know what the hell I was going to do. I was like, "Hey, I want to be in the Army. I want to go to war." That's about it. And I decided, hey, I want to be a tanker. And my only real reasoning to be a tanker was just I remember watching Orange County Choppers, and those guys, the guys that do the bike upgrades, and in one of the series, they got to ride around in a tank, and I was like, oh man, it's awesome. And I was like, man, I'm never going to get to do that in my life. And I was like, wait a minute, yes I can. I mean, if I ended up going in the military, then I'm going to promise myself that I'm going to be a tanker. I want to be on a tank. I want to see what that's like. And I can still remember this day asking my grandfather. He was in World War II. He was an MP. I remember asking him as a kid, I was like, "Hey, so, did you ever, I was naive then, I was like, so did you ever get any action? What happened? Did he tell me some stories?" He didn't tell me anything. And I was like, "Do you ever get in a tank? Do you ever fire a tank?" Nothing. He had plenty of gear, so we soaked that up. We took all sorts of Army gear we could get our hands on every time we went to see him, and brought it home and stockpiled it at the house. And anyway, so I guess that stuck with me forever. So I always wanted to have some sort of, I don't know, I wanted to have some real cool stories. So being a tanker was compelling, and I joined. And in 2006, I joined during the Iraq War. I mean, Afghanistan, everything else was going on, and I wanted to be a part of that. So that was my main motivation, was want to support the mission, want to fight for our country, be a part of that main effort. And it's interesting now because people ask me, so what do you, and we're 2016, so people still say, well, what do you think about Iraq? Do you think we were justified going in there? And the thing I always come back to, and I think every veteran, every soldier will identify with this, is that shit doesn't matter. The politics of it doesn't matter. Why we went, what we discovered while we were there, doesn't friggin' matter. I mean, when you're there, you're fighting for your own life, and you're fighting for the life of the guy to your left and right, and that's it. That's all that matters. I love that part of Black Hawk Down, where that little scene where he asks that guy, and his response is, once that first bullet goes by your head, politics and all that other shit goes right out the window. And it's so true. I mean, it's true. If you've lived it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like I said, I'm a little long-winded. So, so I was a tanker, 3rd ACR. The unit actually went through some growing pains. It actually moved from Fort Carson to Fort Hood. And we had a ton of new privates. So I had a basic training that showed up, and then some of the NCOs that were with 3rd ACR at Carson came down to Hood, but others had the option to stay at Carson, and I think link up with 4th ID, because that's who they were rotating with. So needless to say, they had a bunch of lower NCO positions available. As a PFC, I was fortunate enough to become a gunner on a tank right when I reported in. at Fort Hood, and I'll never forget to this day reporting to Captain Inman. You know, he did that. It was something special he did with every one of his new soldiers. You know, and a ton of us were all fresh out of basic, so we all had like a little personal interaction time to meet the company commander, the first sergeant. And it was a hell of a unit. You know, we were all really impressed with Captain Inman and his leadership style, and you know, he was a prior enlisted soldier, and you know, so he went OCS, and so he basically started from the bottom and worked his way up. So I think we all had a tremendous amount of respect for that, and just who he was as a leader. He was very passionate about, you know, taking care of his soldiers. He was really like a father figure to a lot of us. So it was really awesome, hell of a commander. And you know, one of the hardest things, we all went to war. We all went to Iraq from November 07 to January 09, late January. And you know, the first 45 days roughly, our company commander was killed. You know, he was shot by an Iraqi army soldier, and I was, yeah, complete bullshit the way that all went down. I mean, you know, how the hell are you supposed to know that this Iraqi army guy you're supposedly working with to build some sort of mutual trust and effort together? You know, the United States and Iraq were working together to really further our mission and our cause, working our way out of a job. I mean, it makes sense, but we had a terrorist within the ranks of the Iraqi army, and that it's happened so many times. It happened another time while we were over there too. And I'll never to this day forget, before we left, Captain Inman asked me, and he asked me to be a part of his personal security detachment, you know, his PSD team, and I declined. I mean, I was a private in an NCO's position, and I was on the platoon sergeant's tank, so I was really, I mean, I was on my way to promotion, and at that age, I mean, I was really excited. I mean, I wanted to be an NCO, and I wanted to see action. You know, I just figured being on the commander's tanker and his PSD team, you know, headquarters, we're just gonna kind of sit around on our hands most of the time. So I declined. So that always sticks with me, that survivor's guilt, which sucks. You know, it's kind of like, ah, shit, should I have said yes? You know, could I have made a difference? Would there have been something I could have done? You know, if I was in that situation, would I have been there to stop this from happening? So I think a lot of you guys, a lot of soldiers, you can identify with that bullshit, survivor's guilt stuff. So it's funny, you know, I mean, it's been a long time since then, but it still bothers me. So, and then it was funny, there was another thing that he mentioned. So he actually said, come, you know, he was trying to encourage me to, he was trying to convince me, and he was like, come on, Chris. And he actually used my first name, which was like, oh shit, you know, company commander is using my first name. He's not like calling me Private, you know, Private Nelson. And he's like, come on, Chris, you and I both know you're not going to be a tanker for the rest of your career. You're going to go OCS, or you're going to go Special Forces. And I mean, I was totally shocked and blown away that he believed in me at that point. You know, I was still a young soldier. I'd only been in, I mean, we were getting ready to go to Iraq, so I reported in May 2006, Fort Hood, to 3rd ACR, and then we were going to Iraq November 2007. So I had some time to prove myself. Super motivated private, you know, rated a basic, in an NCO position. I mean, I was gung-ho and fired up. So I mean, I declined, and that's that. You know, so he was killed, and I mean, we were all motivated with piss and vinegar after that. I think that's one of the things. And nobody else was killed in our company. You know, Captain Inman essentially sacrificed himself in a way that every one of us was switched on the entire deployment, and we were there nearly 15 months. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. You know, we didn't lose anybody, and everybody was ruthless, man. We were shit hot on our game. We were aggressive as hell. And we didn't trust anybody, you know. Smile, be nice, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet, you know. And during the course of the 15-month deployment, we had an opportunity to work with some Green Berets. We, you know, as a tank platoon, we actually got MRAPs before everybody else, and we had that opportunity to provide transportation and security, you know, the outer cordon for some of the raids the Green Berets were doing in the city. And it was awesome. I mean, it was the first time I ever did those sort of mission rehearsals with, you know, Falcon View on the laptops, and like, you know, these guys, like the way they did their test fires before they rolled out, and you know, they were really had their shit together, really tight group. Not to say we didn't, but they were doing things, I don't know, they were just a little unconventional, and they had a little more green light in certain aspects of what they were allowed to do. So it was pretty cool. We went out that night and we got a lot of these, you know, these guys that we had on the hit list, and it was cool, man. You'd hear their charges go off before they went into the building and did their raid, and they come back with some friggin' terrorist with the bag on his head, zip tied, and we throw him in the MRAP, and it was crazy. We were cleaning up, you know, we're cleaning up the city, you know, overnight. So that was pretty compelling. And just kind of thinking back to what Captain Nimitz said to me before the deployment, I was like, from that point, I was like, hell yeah, I'm doing it. And I did, and I started training while I was in Iraq. And when I got back, I went to selection, and that was my motivation. I mean, it was purely that. It was to, I don't know. I mean, it was personal after that. You know, after we lost Captain Nimitz, and then being over there for 15 months and going through all that, it was definitely personal, and it was definitely real. And the fight was even closer, you know, in every way imaginable. So went to selection, made it, crushed it. I was really impressed with myself that I was able to pull that off. You had to see me in high school. I was not like the #1 athlete by any means, but it's pretty awesome, you know, the power of power of the mind, man. When you set your mind to it, it's kind of cliche, but I mean, I was an animal. I mean, I was training. I had a real mission why I was doing it, and that's what I'm trying to tie in here to what the hell we're doing with this gun parts company. We're not just making stuff, you know. There's a why, and I keep asking myself that why, because for me, I still have that craving. I want to be a part of something bigger. I want to take the fight to the enemy. I want to be a part of it. I'm not anymore. So in a lot of ways, I regret not being a part of that community, a part of that brotherhood. But I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing now. I'm going to find any way possible to make an impact, to make a change. You know, I may not be on the front line, but maybe I can take care of the other aspect of the fight, of the main effort. And that's, you know, a lot of the families that are left without husbands, wives, you know, I mean, there's a huge cost, as we all know, you know, to the freedom, to what we have in this country. And I think aligning that mindset, that mission, with this company is going to be huge. And I want it to be powerful. And it'll allow us to make major change, major impact on so many lives. And I think that's going to be the best part of this business, and at least the part that I'm most excited about. I love to shoot. I enjoy it. But at the end of the day, does it really change anybody's life? Yes, it makes some guys' guns better, gives them performance that they want and they desire. But I think the human element, the community element, is going to benefit so much more. And that's what I want to build. That's what I want to build with the Brotherhood. So, see, I'm long-winded. So anyway, so getting back to it, selection, went through it. I met Mike Simpson during jump school, airborne school. It was awesome. Mike Simpson, Casey O'Toole, Jeremy Butcher, all these guys, we stuck together. We met there in airborne school, and we stuck together through the whole 2 years at the Q course, you know, through all the various phases of the pipeline, and really developed some amazing friendships. And you know, these guys are brothers to me, and some of them are still serving, some aren't. Mike was killed in action in Afghanistan, and he's currently in Arlington Memorial Cemetery, and that's where he'll be forever. So, you know, there's a significant cost, and Krista, his wife, has started the Unquiet Professional Foundation, which has been amazing, and you know, and it's been tough. I mean, that's seriously tough losing your husband, your spouse, and then being strong for everybody else, and then starting this foundation to help others. Just truly amazing. And that was the motivation for starting it. Was she wanted to give back after receiving so much after losing Mike. And it's amazing. So that's something we're going to be a part of as well. That's what we're doing this for. We want to see these other foundations be successful, these small foundations be successful. And I'm going to go into that because it's hard as a small foundation to get big brand support. Huge brands, huge gun manufacturers that won't even give you the time of day because they're too big, and it's just not enough for them, not enough exposure for the minimal investment. You know what I mean? It's just like, pisses me off. It's all corporate BS. As long as I have a breath in my body and I'm running this company, no matter how big we are, we're always going to support the small foundations. We're always going to make sure they're taken care of. We're not going to support big corporate foundations. We're not going to be a part of that. So that's why I'm redefining everything we do now. We used to support the Wounded Warrior Project, but there's been so much bad press, so much deceitfulness. It pisses me off. We're going to be authentic. We're going to be grassroots, just ground infrastructure with a lot of these small foundations. We're going to give our time and our money. And the amazing thing is our time. I'm going to be there. I want to be there for the events. That's what I'm going to do. So I know I'm rambling a lot, but it's hard to really sum it up in 2 minutes. So if you're still hanging on this video, thank you. But there's just so much to condense into a short little clip. But that's about me. That's Chris Nelson. That's who I am, and that's my personal belief, and that's my personal experience with the military. And there was more to it. Q course. Then I went to 10th Group, 10th Special Forces Group, Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion. It was initially a dive team, 0235, and then 3 months later it became a SIF, which is a Tier 2 unit, and that's about all I can tell you. And it's we have certain elements within there that we're just laser focused on certain training. And one of the schools that I went to, Special Forces Sniper course, and my sniper partner and I, Jack, we shot top team out of 37 other Green Beret teams. So it was a pretty impressive feat to shoot #1. Like, we were the #1 ranked team within the sniper course. Amazing. But it's just, it's been a hell of a ride. And I deployed with those guys. We did some stuff in Africa, and it was after Benghazi, so it was kind of related to that. That's about all I can say in terms of that. And then I got out after which, and I got out. Why did I get out? I got out because, in my opinion, I just kind of felt like the war was over, and I met my wife. And I just decided I'm going to start another chapter of my life and do something else. A month after I got out, Mike Simpson was killed in Afghanistan. That was friggin' rough. And that another survivor guilt situation where it made me question and wonder, damn, did I make the right decision? What the hell am I doing? Could I have done anything? Well, he was in 1st Group, I was in 10th Group, so no, I guess I couldn't have necessarily done anything to be there at that moment. So I went to the funeral in Arlington. I was thankful that I could be there for that. If I was still in, then it's quite possible I wouldn't have been able to go. I would have been training or deploying or something. And that's kind of where I'm coming to today, is with what I'm doing now. I got out in 2013, it's 2016, so I finally have an opportunity to help, and I finally have a platform to speak on. I've got a community I'm creating, the MCARBO Brotherhood, and I'm going to get into what the hell that is. So I have a chance to make some change. I have a chance to do something significant, just like I was before. And as you vets know, transitioning from, running a gun, living the dream in that sense, to civilian life, it's very different. And when I got out, I was going to school before I got into this business. So it's reinventing yourself. And I'm excited to see where we're going with this company. And I'm happy that I'm laying this out now. I've kept this all up in my head, where we are and who we're about, but this is great. So I'm really excited to go into this more. I'm really excited to make more videos, put my face with the company, not just be some faceless gun parts company. Have a story, have a real human element, have a community, have the ability to make change.